thought he was a stranger watching me from the shadows, until I found a photograph of myself in a locked hotel room I'd never entered, and realized he'd known me long before we ever met. My name is Clara Vance, and until 3 weeks ago, my life was painfully ordinary. I worked as an event planner for a mid-sized hotel in the heart of the city, scheduling corporate luncheons and wedding receptions while watching other people live the lives I thought I wanted. Every morning I drank my coffee at the same cafe, ordered the same sandwich at lunch, and caught the same train home. I never thought the world could tilt so suddenly beneath my feet. It began on a rainy Tuesday. The kind of rain that blurred the streetlights into molten gold and made the sidewalks glisten like wet glass. I was late leaving work, juggling my umbrella, phone, and a stack of event contracts when I noticed him. He was leaning against the wrought iron fence across from the hotel entrance, dressed in a dark coat and holding a cigarette between his fingers, though it wasn't lit. His gaze was fixed on me with an unsettling steadiness, as if he'd been waiting. I told myself I was imagining it, that he was just some stranger passing time. But when I turned the corner, I heard footsteps follow. By the third block, my heart was beating faster. The rain made every sound sharper. The drip from the awnings, the shuffle of wet shoes on pavement, the low rumble of distant traffic. I glanced back and caught the reflection of his silhouette in a storefront window. I didn't run. Not yet. But when I reached my apartment building, I used the mirrored glass doors to check behind me. Empty street. No sign of him. Still the feeling lingered. That strange, charged awareness that someone has memorized the way you move. The next morning, a note slipped under my door. You dropped this. There was no name, no return address. Just an envelope containing a single Polaroid photograph. It was me, taken from across the street, walking toward my building last night. In the picture, my face wasn't frightened. It was almost smiling, as if I'd seen something, or someone, I wanted to remember. I should have called the police. I should have told someone. But instead, I put the photo in my desk drawer at work and told myself I'd deal with it later. That evening, the hotel hosted a private gala for an international shipping company. That's when I saw him again. Not in the shadows this time, but standing in the golden light of the ballroom, wearing a tailored suit as if he belonged there. He wasn't alone. A woman with crimson lipstick and a diamond necklace rested her hand lightly on his arm. But his eyes were still on me. I forced myself to focus on the event, but every time I glanced up, he was watching. And when the lights dimmed for the main speech, I felt the whisper of paper slip into the pocket of my dress. I didn't look until I was home. It was another Polaroid. This time the picture was of me inside the hotel ballroom, taken from behind. And written in neat handwriting on the back were 3 words. You're not ready. That was the night I stopped sleeping. Suspense, drama, romance, and emotion, with the mystery unresolved until the very end. The days that followed blurred into a restless haze. I checked my locks twice before bed, pulled my curtains shut so tightly no light could slip through, and started taking different routes to work. Yet somehow, no matter what I did, I felt him near. Not always seen, just sensed like a change in the air before a storm. 3 nights later, I received the 3rd Polaroid. It was waiting in my mailbox without an envelope, the edges damp from the rain. This time the image was different. It showed my apartment door. Closed, locked, but with the faintest reflection of a man's figure in the glass panel beside it. And yet, something in me didn't feel afraid. I didn't want to admit it, but curiosity was starting to outweigh fear. Who was he? What did he want from me? Why did part of me, the part one barely understood, want to see him again? The answer came sooner than I expected. It was a Thursday night, and the hotel had just hosted a charity auction for a local hospital. Most guests had left, and the lobby was nearly empty. I was gathering leftover programs when a voice spoke behind me. You're still not ready, Clara. Froze. The words were quiet, almost gentle, but they sent a shiver racing up my spine. I turned, and there he was, closer than he had ever been. His coat was gone, his shirt collar open at the throat, revealing a faint scar just above his collarbone. His eyes were the kind that didn't just look at you. They searched, as if reading the pages of a book you didn't know you'd written. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "You're walking into something you don't understand," he said. "And if you keep pretending you don't see it, you're going to get hurt." I wanted to demand answers, but he glanced over my shoulder, and I followed his gaze. The woman with crimson lipstick from the gala was standing in the far corner, her expression unreadable. Without a word, he stepped back, his presence fading like smoke. By the time I turned again, he was gone. The next morning, I found a key on my kitchen counter. I hadn't left it there. It was small, brass, and old, engraved with the number 14. No note, no instructions. That night, I couldn't resist. I searched the hotel records. Room 14 had been sealed off for years, after an incident the management didn't like to talk about. The official story was structural damage, but that didn't explain why the door had been reinforced from the inside. I waited until after midnight. The corridors were quiet. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioning. When I reached the end of the west wing, the key slid into the lock as if it had been waiting for me. The door creaked open, revealing darkness. My phone's flashlight illuminated dust-covered furniture, peeling wallpaper, and the faint scent of something. Cologne, faint but familiar. On the far wall hung a single framed photograph. It was me, younger maybe by a year, standing in that very room. And I had no memory of ever being there. Behind me the door clicked shut. The days after the second Polaroid passed in a strange haze of unease. I still went to work, smiled at colleagues and answered phone calls, but my mind never stopped scanning for him. I began noticing small changes in my routine, things that didn't make sense. My desk chair would be slightly moved in the mornings. My fridge door sometimes left ajar. Once, the window in my bedroom was unlatched when I was certain I had locked it the night before. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid, that the first 2 Polaroids had left me jumpy, but the truth was harder to swallow. Someone had been inside my home. 3 nights later it happened again. It was a stormy Friday, the kind of night where the rain came in waves, hammering the windows and flooding the gutters. I came home to find an envelope resting on my doormat. This one wasn't sealed. It simply lay there as if whoever placed it wanted me to open it right away. Inside was another Polaroid. The shot was darker than the others, taken in the dim hallway outside my apartment. My own door filled most of the frame. But if you looked closely, just beside the frosted glass panel, you could see the faint reflection of a man's figure. The outline was unmistakable. It was him. I didn't call the police. I didn't even tell a friend. Something inside me, a deep pull I couldn't explain, told me this wasn't about fear alone. Whoever he wasn't just a stalker. He was trying to tell me something. The following Thursday night, the hotel hosted a charity auction for the children's hospital. Guests drifted in wearing black tie attire, laughter and clinking glasses filling the marble-floored lobby. I was busy coordinating with the catering staff when I heard it. My name, spoken low, almost in my ear. "You're still not ready, Clara." I spun around and there he was. This time there was no shadow to hide him. Just a man in a charcoal suit, tall and lean, with eyes that held an unsettling blend of warning and recognition. Up close I could see the details I'd missed before. A faint scar above his collarbone, a slight unevenness in his left eyebrow, and the way he stood, calm, almost protective but never relaxed. "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the music. His gaze stayed locked on mine. "It means if you keep pretending you don't see the truth, you're going to walk straight into it." I wanted to demand answers, but his attention flicked past my shoulder. I turned to see the woman from the gala, the one with crimson lipstick and the diamond necklace, standing in the far corner, watching us with a kind of stillness that made my stomach clench. When I turned back, he was already stepping away, disappearing into the crowd as if the moment had never happened. The next morning something was different. The key was sitting on my kitchen counter. I hadn't seen it before. Small, brass, heavy in my hand, engraved with the number 14. There was no note, I spent the entire day thinking about it. Room 14. It sounded ordinary, but when I searched the hotel records, my breath caught. The West Wing's rooms had been closed off for over a decade, ever since an incident management refused to detail. Officially, the cause was structural damage, but there were whispers, stories about guests who'd checked in and never checked out. I waited until after midnight. The hotel corridors were empty except for the faint hum of the lights. I walked slowly, my heels echoing off the polished floor, the brass key burning warm in my palm. When I reached the end of the West Wing, the door to room 14 was unmarked, its paint faded. The key turned without resistance. The smell hit first, a faint, lingering trace of cologne, the kind I'd noticed on him the first night I saw him. My flashlight swept across dust-coated furniture, peeling wallpaper, and a chair that looked like it hadn't been moved in years. The air felt heavy, still, as if the room had been waiting. Then I saw it. On the far wall hung a single framed photograph. My photograph. I looked younger, maybe a year younger, but I was unmistakably standing inside that very room, wearing clothes I didn't remember owning. Cold chill ran down my spine. I had never been in room 14. Least not that I remembered. And then I heard it, the soft, deliberate click of the door shutting behind me.